I can't even tell you if I've ever talked about abortion before, but you have to go into the song this time because it's so, yeah, it's just so heavy.
Yeah, it definitely is. Based on a true story. It's
Yep.
based on how my daughter came into the world. My 19-year-old daughter. Her birth mother
Wow.
was right on the cusp of aborting her. She was in an abortion clinic. By the way, I did not set out to write a pro-life song. That is not where that song came from.
All right.
But, you know, abortion does enter the picture because it almost happened. She was almost taken out of this world before she entered. And her birth mother was ready to abort her and decided not to. And I mean that's what the song is about. I mean, and I had to speak a little bit about abortion in that song because it is part of the story.
Right.
But, you know, you can't leave out the adoption part either. I mean, her birth mother loved her enough to get out of that clinic, call her mom, tell her she was pregnant. Her mom said, "I'm coming to pick you up right now." And they found a home for that baby, which is my home. And I appreciate that very much. You know, again, I didn't set out to write an abortion song. I mean,
Right.
I would.
Well, it's funny. Last night I was flipping through that television, and I saw probably a half an hour of Juno.
Juno.
You know the movie I'm talking about. You should watch it. It's about this young girl who she's in high school and becomes pregnant, and she goes to the abortion clinic, and she's very flippant about it. You ready? She's very flippant. Why can't I say flip it? What is it?
Flippant.
What is the word?
I think I can't either.
Flippant.
Flippant. Yes.
Flippant. Okay. So she's going to the abortion clinic, and she's pretty flippant about it, and
Pretty lackadaisical, sort of.
yeah, and just like, okay, we're just going to do this and get it over with and all that kind of stuff. Because in the movie, I just thought it was interesting how because she decided not to have the abortion, and for little conscientious reasons, like there was a high school friend of hers outside and said, the baby has fingernails or something like that, and again, being that sort of sarcastic, sort of smarmy character. But it was just interesting how they dealt with the conversation about abortion, because it's hard to have that conversation, I mean, in public, even personally, like you had to deal with it. I mean, that's just crazy, all the things that are going through your head and your heart. And
it's
and I don't know where I'd end up, dude.
I'll have to check that movie out. Juno. I don't even know if I've really heard of it, but
yeah, it's got the guy from it's got Michael Cera and Justin Bateman from Arrested Development in it. And it was out 3 or 4 years ago. I think it won an Oscar for something. I don't know, but
because I've slightly heard of it, but I definitely want to see it now.
Juno, but it is that kind of smarmy, cult sort of dark comedy thing, but it deals with that kind of real life issue without coming to a conclusion like abortion's great, abortion's terrible, whatever. She just chose not to, and I thought it was interesting how she came to that.
I mean, the song is loosely based on, because I don't know all the fine details of everything that happened. That's why the listener has to give me some creative license. But the bullet points of that song are true, which are the main parts. She was going to abort. She decided not to. She decided to put her child up for adoption. And I went in for an interview, my wife and I, and she chose us. And when the birth father was asked why he chose us, guess what his answer was? He said, "I thought John was the most intellectual, most amazing, prolific man that I've ever..." No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
You know what he said? "I liked his shoes. That was the reason he chose me."
Wow.
I liked his shoes. I had a pair of Doc Martens on that day. I don't know if they're still popular, but that's the reason he chose me. He liked my shoes.
Yeah.
He was only 15. She was 13. And
rocking the Doc Martens. What color were they?
Black.
Black.
And I thought to myself, man, I thought that I went in there with all sincerity during that interview, and I really, we brought flowers into the birth mother, and the birth grandmother was there, and it was a pretty big, deep occasion, and I was nervous as all get out.
Yeah.
And the guy ends up picking me because of my shoes.
Wow.
We didn't pick him because he had a nose hair. The guy.
Well, then I'll just say God works in mysterious ways, right? I mean, if
that is the truth.
She was able to grow up in a family that was stable and loving and faithful, then wow. I'm glad you wore those shoes that day.
Exactly.